speak through Fox News and let the independents who are tuning into you, let them know what it is that she stands for, the principles behind her positions.
It used to be that new candidates were advised to brush up on the issues so they could handle questions from anyone, even tough questions. The idea behind that was that it prepared you also for actually governing. But now the advice to candidates is only to talk to sympathetic reporters.
We need to start now by electing strong leaders who aren't afraid to shake it up. We need strong, principled leaders, public servants who respect our Constitution.
We need clarity. We deserve answers, so we don't ask the same questions tomorrow.
Good night, Lon.
You know, in Tuesday's election, 10 women will appear on the ballot for governor, and almost 150 are running for a seat in the U.S. Congress.
Don't forget, you've got Mama Grizzlies. You have Democratic and Republican women who are absolutely disgusted with Washington politics, and a lot of these women like Sarah Palin, and they like her ilk.
It's very exciting.
Well, it seems to be the year of the woman in politics.
Year of the woman. Year of the Republican woman. Year of the conservative Republican woman. This was one of the favored and exciting memes in political coverage this year before the elections. Then the elections actually happened, and now you're not hearing quite so much breathless coverage, are you? About that whole conservative women surge thing. Because this upcoming Congress, the one we just elected, the 112th Congress scheduled to meet for the first time on January 3rd, 2011, it will be the very first Congress in 30 years to not have more women in it than the one that came before. The first in 30 years. Depending on how the Senate race in Alaska turns out and a few still to be decided races in the House, there will be either as many or fewer women in Congress next year than there were this year. That has not been the case in a generation. It is true that there were a ton of high-profile Republican women in particular running for Congress and governor this year. They got a lot of media attention, and all of them lost. Meg Whitman in California, Carly Fiorina in California, Sharon Engel in Nevada, Christine O'Donnell in Delaware, Linda McMahon in Connecticut. Yes, Kelly Ayotte in New Hampshire and Nikki Haley in South Carolina won in their respective races, but that's sort of it. What in the name of Elizabeth Cady Stanton happened here? How did this, the year of the woman, after all, how did this end up being one of the worst elections in a generation for women running for office? Joining us now is Amanda Marcotte. She's a contributing writer for Slate's Double X. Amanda, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So, what happened? How did this end up being one of the worst elections in a generation for women running for office?
Well, it's kind of interesting because you would think that with the Republican women running and Republicans winning so many seats, Republican women would have just done better by riding on the coattails. But I actually think that this Mama Grizzly narrative hurt them in a way because it was about creating an idea where you could both be anti-feminist in your views and your policies and your ideas and even your demeanor, but somehow still feminist and having ambition. And I think that that kind of contradiction didn't sit well with some segments of the public, and I think it hurt them in the polls.
In terms of, I guess, not just women candidates, but women voters, is that sort of discomforting relationship between women's ambition and women's anti-feminist case to voters, did it play differently among male voters and female voters?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think both male and female voters are generally more attracted to policy ideas than they are to somebody's gender. And so you saw the similar spread in male and female votes between female Republicans and male Republicans, which is to say, on average, 5 to 6% more men, percentage points more men voted for the Republican than women did. And women rarely voted majority in most states for the female Republican candidate.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess the thing that is so often assumed about female candidates is that they attract female voters. And we saw in the presidential race in 2008 that the putting a woman as the Republican vice presidential candidate in Sarah Palin did not result in that Republican ticket doing better among women voters. In fact, they did significantly worse among women voters than the all-male tickets in previous elections had them do. So does that, I mean, the common wisdom about why John McCain picked Sarah Palin is that she would be offering competition for female voters who might have otherwise been attracted to Hillary Clinton's candidacy. How does that turn that political common wisdom sort of on its head? What's the new common wisdom now?
Well, I certainly hope that the new common wisdom is women as voters are not that stupid and aren't going to fall for that trick. I mean, I think in a lot of times female voters, especially more liberal-leaning ones, see that as insulting, as if we're just going to see a woman in a skirt and we're just going to go, I wear skirts too, so I'm going to vote for her. No, it just doesn't work that way. We're going to notice things like one's stance on reproductive rights or the safety net or the economy or the war.
Are there issues like reproductive rights that stand out as issues that particularly attract the interest or the voting patterns of female voters? I mean, reproductive rights was a big issue in this election because there were a number of top-of-the-ticket Republican candidates who had very, very extreme anti-abortion views. If Joe Miller, depending on what happens with Joe Miller, I think that 4 of the 5 candidates, other than Rand Paul being the one, the standout, who believed in banning abortion, including no exceptions for rape or incest, they all lost. But do reproductive rights predict voting behavior or I guess the attraction of women candidates even at this point?
I think to a degree. I think reproductive rights becomes a bigger issue if it can be connected to other larger issues.
Perhaps we are not properly educating our youth in the exceptional nature of America. It's worrisome because this belief in American exceptionalism is something that every new generation has got to make its own if we expect our republic and our liberties to be secure and to live on. For America to survive, we have got to pass this on to that next generation, to the young kids who are here, to the students.
You know, this real America, does it exist, John?
Well, in terms of real American and exceptionalism, look, the most basic thing that people can do in support of democracy is vote. And we take our votes very seriously. The people of Alaska voted for Sarah Palin, and Sarah Palin quit. Exceptional people don't quit. And I seriously tell my kids this probably 2 or 3 times a week. It's better to lose than to quit. So she can sit there and she can talk about being exceptional. She can talk about better of America. If she were a better person, she would have stood and fought. She chose to check out and to do it to make money. I've got no problem with making money, but that's what she is. She's a reality
I
star.
have a different observation, though. He hears what's going on. That speech, the first 20 minutes, was every vapid cliche strung together. It was complete, almost nonsense.
But let's look a little closer. Hang on just one second. I want to look a little closer in the numbers here at Sarah Palin. Among conservatives, 65% have a favorable rating, 25% an unfavorable rating. Among moderates, 31% favorable, 60% unfavorable. And among independent voters, you can't win the presidency without them, and they were huge in helping the Republicans take back the House, 38% favorable, 45% unfavorable. So she has a problem in the middle of the electorate.
She's extra sassy these days, too, because she's winning. All her mama Grizzlies are winning. And they're busting through that glass ceiling. And the mama Grizzlies are going to Washington, and they're going to flip your picnic table, Dave. You know what I noticed on Fox News last night, though, is on Fox News, they address her as Governor Palin, which is like calling me Dairy Queen employee. I was once, but I quit.
That's right.
There is that point there that somehow Sarah Palin forgets. Oh, well.
Suppose Senator John Doe puts forth a constitutional amendment that would outlaw abortion, even in cases of rape or incest, and he asked you to attend the announcement and support him in that. Would you do it?
I would. Yes, a proposal like that, I would stand by it.
Let's be completely clear about the facts here. There is no place in the world and no time in history where restricting women's reproductive rights makes a people or a nation more free or more equal. These extreme positions on abortion are, without any question, a war on American girls and women, and the fact that there are women who are both complicit and participatory in it is really neither surprising nor unprecedented. It has always been true, and it is incredibly important that we recognize that despite the fact that we can be very proud of these women and as politicians, that the question is, how do women as citizens fare on the other side of them either being elected or not elected?